of the city, but the Eastern Bypass looking a lot clearer now, as is Outer Ring, not doing too badly. Just a little bit of traffic left on Kangunda Road, and the Thika Superhighway coming in from Survey through towards Moranga Road. That still continues to be busy, and we'll still see some traffic, a little bit of it coming on Rilo Odinga Way, touching on Gong Road, which, by the way, up there, just beyond the junction, has some traffic as well. Apart from that, we're coming out of traffic hour with not too much of an issue. Spice FM, KE on X through the morning.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Our conversation continues with Kipruto Rapkirwa, who is now a governance expert on matters that are happening, what's happening in the country now. This constitution has given us very many things, good things. Some of them people argue bad things. It's still, the jury's still out there. It has given us 2 deputy presidents so far. Both of them have gone through the same kind of treatment. It has given us deputy governors, and we have seen what's happened to the deputy governors.
Yeah, there are a number of things that some thoughts have engaged in terms of the issues of deputy. One of the suggestions is that, of course, the deputy should also have substantial position, just the way you used to have. Let's say you could have a vice president and minister for finance, for Saitoti and the late Kibaki. They occupied that position. I was also thinking deputy governors in various jurisdictions should also be given substantive office, because otherwise they run the risk of looking like they are the peers to the governor. But another addition is for us to tinker around with the constitution to provide for possibility that if I'm running for deputy president and I happen to win with my president, and I intend to run, there should be a haters period that upon like 2022, the current pair took office, and if Rigathi Gachagua wants to run, he should opt out of 2007 as a presidential, as a deputy
2027.
2027.
This next election, after one term.
Yeah.
After one term, or if you serve the full term, 2032, you should wait up to 2037. For me, it will give us a chance where the president's legacy is not confused by the ambition of his deputy. I think that was the main problem between Uhuru and Ruto.
But this is the issue, though.
Yes.
They campaign together.
Yes.
That means they own the legacy that they want to build.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So by the end of a term,
Yes.
they should basically, throughout the term, they should be working together
Yes.
to deliver on this dream that they sold to the people, and they should deliver on achieving and realizing this legacy. So one continuing into another would be okay, because it means that the people are saying, yes, you served for those 5 years, we are giving you another 5 years to continue, and we are happy with what you've done. After 10 years, Mr. President, go, your deputy can continue for another.
Well, I'm
If
trying to
they
avoid-
behaved well.
Yes.
But
If
here
they
we are-
behaved well, but you realize we are not behaving well. So I think there should be a break. So that also for deputy governors and governors, likewise, because there is no single deputy governor today, perhaps in 1 or 2 counties, who is happy. They are complaining about their governor. Either we need to look at the character of the 2 individuals running in the same ticket. Because at the end of the day, we are wasting a lot of time and public resources by the infighting within government. Today, I'm sure the deputy president cannot call any officer of government to request certain things to be done because of the hostility between him and his boss. That is worrying me. Because this role now is that we are paying him a salary without allowing him to work. Yeah.
Does it, because that's where it does strike me, and I mean, at the risk of sounding offensive, it just appears to me that there's a bit of almost immature politics being played out here. That such a thing would have to happen, that if you then require certain mechanics to have your office running because of what could be frosty relations between yourself and your superior, then the mechanics for your office would not be supplied. or that we see certain things that need to happen and they don't happen because this frosty political relationship is happening. To me, it strikes me as a bit of immature politics. We should be able to have your thing, then go out and duke it out at the ballot box, but get things done for the nation. Why can't we see that can happen? Why? Because you don't have to be friends at the office, but you can get things done and then you can sort out your issues later.
Yes, I agree with you. Fully, but we are yet to reach that particular stage. Even democracy in Kenya, for example, has not really matured. Because even in all these political parties, they're either fashioned around an individual or around a collection of communities who have come together for the fear of the other communities. We are yet to have serious democratic institutions and structures that allow people to make decisions. We call the delegates conference in all political parties is supposed to be the supreme organ. But here in Kenya, they have to listen what is the leader saying for us to realign ourselves. ODM of yesterday is different from ODM of today because Raila has decided to work with William Ruto. And therefore, it has become a new, they are realigning themselves. You realize Orengo was almost suffering a backlash from the rest of the membership when he said he was hesitant to want to get into an arrangement with Kenya Kwanza. So it's still, as a student of politics, I still believe we are yet to be fully democratic. We are yet to respect institutions. The democracy that we talk about is a democracy in books, but in practice we don't do anything closer to what ideal democracy does provide.
Do we understand democracy?
We seem to understand theoretically, but we don't seem to have owned it. We don't own it because it is like it is an alien body that has visited Africa. It is not Kenya alone. It is in almost all countries. My little study that I did in one of the papers indicates that there are only 2 political parties that are worth the name. CCM in Tanzania, and again, ANC in South Africa, although it is now been visited with a lot of challenges. And there is also some semblance of democracy in Botswana. But in Botswana, it is slightly different because it is like a collection of chiefs from various ethnic conclaves that come together to create that kind of consensus around the country.
Maybe that's our democracy.
Yeah, possibly that may be the...
Maybe that's what we've been practicing, but in a different way. Because just like you've explained,
yes,
if you look at it, it is regional kingpins. We use those terms loosely, but they mean a lot. Regional kingpins representing regions, tribes, right? And even with the BBI, there was an attempt then to say, let's bring in the regional kingpins and put them all together in the executive so we can share. We can have 1 president, deputy president, prime minister, 2 deputy prime ministers, and then you can have, leader of majority, leader of the you can have an opposition. So we can bring all those guys into somewhere where they are sitting at a table. Maybe that is our democracy.
Well, that is, but then we need to do it, put it in the books. Otherwise, the democracy that we describe in 2010 Constitution is different from that kind of arrangement that I'm suggesting does happen in Botswana. Yeah, but nonetheless...
Does it work in Botswana?
It works. It has worked, but at times there's been some shortchanging of individuals in the sense that the deputy president at that time faked illness, that he was going to die in office because he had some cancer. Only for him to be given some temporary relief by the president with the hope that when he dies, the issue will be sorted out. Only for him to take over. And when he took over, the president ran away from the country. So we still got enough challenges in Africa about tolerating each other. We don't seem to tolerate each other.
We don't seem to know what we want as well as a country. Or maybe we do, but it's just we just haven't
gotten round to saying, saying this is it exactly, this is how we're going to make it happen.
Yeah.
Because I am a proponent for being able to, form and forge your own way of doing things. Because the truth of the matter is that democracy is a handed down system. It's a handed down system of the democracy as it's prescribed by particular states is a handed down system of doing things that is just assumed that, okay, well, we've left you to your independence. How about you take this on and that's how you should form? Or because some of the greatest quote unquote nations of the world have adopted this particular kind of governance, then we say, okay, well, let's apply it to ourselves without looking at the very tenets or elements that are existent within, the boundaries of a sovereign state. Is it not possible to say, okay, forward thinking, clear thinking, you can actually form and forge your own way?
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you in the sense that we need to do when you say that, some people think you are suggesting amendment of the constitution. Far from it. We need to do an audit of the current constitution. The things that we feel are okay, we retain them. The things that we feel we could do better, including the arrangement at the top. Because you see, what we did in 2010, we traveled through the world. We wanted Westminster system. When we reached Naivasha, we went the American system, but not quite the American system. So we may need to look at the current constitution, perhaps look at the recommendations that were sent to Parliament the other day, where we are able to disperse power from the presidency. Because the idea of 2010 constitution was to reduce power from the center so that all parts of the country have some little power. But you see, what we did was almost to take it raw, give it to the governor, who becomes like a president of a county and behaves worse than the president, because systems were not even put properly. But thank God, at least the public is getting more and more aware. So my thinking would be, let us do an audit of the current constitution, see which things are okay, which things can we do better, including the issue of CDF. Even if I was a member of parliament, I used the CDF for the 4 years that I served, the last 4 years of my service, starting with 6 million all the way now, it is 165. But at times, the way it has taken shape is that the MP is becoming a mini president of a constituency.
Yep.
So some of those issues, let us have resources ring-fenced for a certain constituency, all the 290 constituencies, but it should not be the decision of the MP. It should be the decision of a committee removed from the MP, so that the MP is just one of the constituents making those particular decisions. That is one way. Also, at the top, we must rethink, how do we make sure that no part of the country feels out of government? Because you could see, you bring five people from ODM, and almost the ODM nation believes they are now in government. So they were crying for only 5 ministers, and yet the president has been visiting the constituency that is akin to, let's say, the center of epicenter of ODM. Even before he did that, but it was not enough until Raila donated the 5 experts that that he gave to government.
And now they are happy.
They seem to be happy, and they actually they are almost becoming gatekeepers worse than those who were previously in Kenya Kwanza. But on a more serious note, I think we still need to relook at this constitution and also assist ourselves to realize that when you are elected a president, you are not our chief. You are just one of us doing a job that you are given for the period of 5 years, and if you are given another mandate, 10 years, and you go.
That's it.
Yeah.
I agree with you,
Yeah.
Ruto, as far as we need to relook at our constitution.
Yeah.
But I have a different thought beyond that.
Yeah.
Beyond that is to relook at our constitution and take ourselves back into 2010, into the journey towards 2010, when we were seeking to give ourselves a new constitution. What were we after? We were after a government that serves us, a government that we feel is serving us, a government that we feel has all the systems and checks and balances. So what did we do? We created a government that had various institutions, and we said we are stopping to personalize government. and to institutionalize government. And that's why we created commissions, independent offices, 3 arms of government, and we clearly separated their roles and dictated that, and also said the role of the citizen in making sure that every decision of government has to start with the approval of the citizen, right? So I agree we need to relook and see, so which of these things is working, which of the institutions is not working, and why are they not working, and make them work. Because I have a sense that it is after we gave ourselves a constitution and went back, we gave the dog to look after the meat. And told the dog, now we have tumekatakata hii nyama, tumeweka vitunguu,
Just got it.
nitumbukiza, tumeweka hata viazi kubwa kubwa, cabbage mzima, sukuma, spinach mzima, huko ndani. Sasa wewe umbwa, guard
Just
this
watch
meat
it.
and tell me when the meat is ready.
You're whetting my appetite too.
Yeah. And you know what happened to the dog with that meat?
Yeah.
Maybe that we expected that system would immediately embrace this constitution that is dismantling it and allow us to move. And the system is now telling us, let's revise. You see, it's not working. What fanya hivi, instead of boiling this meat, in a pot and there's a flame, remove it from the flame, weka hapa chini. It is easier for me to look at it and to make sure that nobody opens. And the dog is basically saying, remove the meat from the fire, put it where I can reach it so I can eat it better. And I'm saying, we should ask ourselves, if the dog is the problem, we remove the dog.
The dog.
Yeah, there lies the answer. Actually, remember that small book written by Chinua Achebe. Initially, it was the trouble in Nigeria. Now it is the image of Africa. In one of the chapters, he said there is no problem with Africa. It's not about the people. It's not about the resources. It's not about the weather. It's not about all these other things. The problem lies squarely with lack of effective leadership. Because let's remember that the same constitution promulgated 2010, Kibaki had led the country for more than 8 years under the old constitution, the same constitution that put us in a lot of trouble. But he was able to do a number of things, to open airwaves, to open space in terms of freedom of expression, and many things. So at times it may not be even the constitution, it may be the problem is lack of effective leadership. That is where our problem is.
What do you think, Do?
I know, because if we're saying lack of effective leadership, because if you apply the same principle in another nation, if you had ineffective leadership in another nation, we would see the crumbling of, processes or progress, the same way that you do in other places. So if that is the one element that is needed to have this happen, are we then saying that if you had effective leadership across board, at whatever, at the minutest level, that we would see that governance then would be at the very least efficient?
Yeah, let's go back to the same country, Nigeria. When the late Murtala Muhammad took over government, they knew that he was no nonsense man. And within 24 hours, every officer was on a desk or his desk at 7 o'clock in the morning because they knew. So it takes the top to realign the issues downwards. If the leadership at the top is not effective and is seen to be partaking in certain things that are forbidden, everybody will copy. And people either cope with situations or copy situations and perfected themselves. Because like I come from a maize-growing county, that's Trans Nzoia. If the mother steals from the granary and the children see the maize stolen, instead of going to posho mill, they sell it in between. Those children will be thieves, and they will not see anything wrong with stealing maize from the granary.
But if she does it right, essentially what we are saying is that they will follow her.
They will follow her
if she's doing the right thing.
The right thing.
Yeah.
So leadership is the main problem, whether at the county leadership, and also it behoves Kenyans to make decisions in the next election, who they elect as governor, who they elect as president, and many other positions. So that at the end of the day, we may be blaming the people that are leading us, but it is we who put them in those particular offices because we believed they were behaving like us, which means there is something also inherent in us that we are not as straight as we profess.
Some people have said, Kipruto, as we conclude, that looking at the Gen Z protests and what they brought to the fore, and even the president acknowledged it in New York the other day and said, you know what, Kenyans have placed a very, very high bar for me.
Yeah.
They want excellence. When I do very good, they tell me, we didn't elect you to do very good. We want you to do excellent. And so that bar is too high. But the thing is, he understood a bit of what Kenyans were saying, which is we want a government that serves us.
Yeah.
We want a government that responds to our needs, right?
Yeah.
After the handshake of the broad-based government and the donation of some few opposition leaders into government, we seem to have gone back into status quo. The politics that was being played out in this country in January, February, March, April is the politics that's being played out in this country in September. It's like June, July never happened to the political class.
Yeah, you know, our current leader, President William Ruto, has good memory for bad things and bad memory for good things.
What does that mean?
It means he knows the right thing to be done, but he forgets sooner than later. Number two, he makes certain statements that he does not believe in. That's why the GNC, the same GNCs, displayed 1,000 lies he has made since he took over office. And you yourself, you asked him, why does he like lying? I don't think he gave you a good answer. Yeah. So at times he says it for the convenience of the audience, but he does not believe in some of those things. I've known him
What do you
since the days he
think
left
will now
university.
happen?
Yeah?
What do you think will now happen? What do you think will happen next? Because, the political class has grouped and they're moving on like, business as usual. What do you think is happening in Kenya right now?
There are two constituencies that are very important, in my opinion. The Mount Kenya bloc and the GNCs. Those are the two constituencies that will determine the kind of leadership that we'll have in the next election. I have a strong feeling that if William was to win, it's not because of his popularity. It is because of the disorganization of the opposition. Otherwise, anybody can beat William. I can tell you. I know him, and I know I've been around for quite some time. I may not be a very serious politician, but I read politics every day. I sleep politics. I wake up politics. And I know the next election will be determined around the mountain. And in that constituency called GNC, people say there could be 8 million, but for me, I put it between 5 and 8. They will determine who becomes the next leader. It's only that perhaps they themselves have not clearly realized who the leaders are that are already on this political space.
You said it. Kipruto Arap Kirwa, Mzee, elder, former minister, former MP, has been our guest for this hour. Thank you for joining us. We'll invite you again.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Asante
Yeah,
sana.
thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. We thank you very much for wherever you've been following the conversation, whether you're listening or watching across the globe. It's coming up to 10 o'clock. We'll be back tomorrow morning from 6 a.m. It'll be Ndu and I. Sitri is still away. He's enjoying some time. So have yourselves a lovely day. Good morning. This time we'll have the news. It's 10 a.m.